Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to today's explainer, and let me tell you, we have got an absolutely incredible one lined up. We are going to decode a real-world Python and full-stack mock interview. Seriously, this isn't just theory we're talking about today. This is basically your ultimate cheat sheet for cracking a technical interview. We're pulling straight from an actual back and forth between a senior interviewer and a candidate to figure out exactly what gets you hired, right from the raw code all the way to the soft skills. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with core Python essentials, then we'll move into database and SQL mastery, step up to web frameworks and Django, and finally, we'll uncover the real secret sauce in Section 4, the art of delivery.
All right, Section 1, core Python essentials. Every single Python interview is going to test your absolute basics right out of the gate. You've got to know those foundational data structure building blocks.
So imagine you're sitting in the hot seat. The interviewer looks right at you and drops this classic A versus B question. What is the difference between a list and a tuple? I mean, it sounds simple, right? But how you answer this totally sets the tone for your whole technical evaluation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core distinction, mutability. A list is mutable, right? It uses square brackets, and you can add, append, or remove elements whenever you want. Basically, if your data needs to change, you use a list. But a tuple, that is immutable. It uses parentheses, and you literally cannot add or remove elements once it's created. So why even use it? Well, because that exact immutability makes it absolutely perfect for things like dictionary keys, where your data absolutely must not change under any circumstances.
Okay, let's move on to another classic comparison question. What is the difference between an iterator and a generator? Now, the mock interview we're looking at reveals a super crucial lesson here, and it's not just about what the right answer is, but exactly how you're supposed to deliver it.
First up, the technical facts. A generator is a special function that uses the yield keyword instead of return, and it is incredibly memory efficient because it doesn't try to store all objects in memory at once. And iterator, on the other hand, is used to generate a sequence and actually maintains its state during that generation. Now, the candidate knew this perfectly, but the interviewer actually stopped her. Why? Because she was just rushing right through it.
The interviewer gave her this exact piece of advice, and honestly, it is absolute gold. When you're comparing two things, you need to structure your answer. Step 1, say, let's first look at the generator and explain it. Step 2, take a deliberate pause. Just breathe. Step 3, say, now let's look at the iterator. By explicitly slowing down your delivery like that, you aren't just proving you memorized a textbook, You're showing maturity, clear communication, and real confidence.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, database and SQL mastery. Look, if you're going for a full-stack role, just knowing Python isn't going to cut it. You have to know how to efficiently manage and manipulate data on the back end. So the interviewer fires off a rapid-fire test on MySQL aggregate functions, and the candidate nailed it, quickly rattling off the absolute essentials: average, sum, max, min, and count. Having these right at the top of your mind, that shows you're actually comfortable querying data, not just, setting up a basic table.
But then came a much trickier try comparison question. What is the difference between delete, truncate, and drop? Oh man, this is a notorious trap for junior developers because, let's be honest, they all sound like they do the exact same thing, getting rid of data.
So, the crucial point is right here. Just look at the effect on the table structure. Delete removes a single row or specific rows, but it keeps the table completely intact. Truncate wipes out all the records in the table, but the structure itself, that stays perfectly in place. But drop deletes all the records and completely destroys the table structure. The rows, the columns, the whole shebang is gone. Knowing this exact distinction proves to the interviewer that you aren't going to accidentally obliterate a database schema on your very first day.
Okay, climbing further up the stack, we arrive at Section 3, Web Frameworks and Django. This is where your code actually interacts with the web, and interviewers absolutely want to see that you understand the architecture holding it all together.
So the interviewer asks about ORM, which stands for Object Relational Mapping. Basically, it's a tool that lets you interact with the database using Python objects instead of writing out manual SQL queries. And the candidate gave a seriously strong answer here. She pointed out that if you write manual queries and your underlying database engine changes for some reason, you'd have to rewrite all of them. And ORM is a total lifesaver because it automatically translates your Python code into the correct SQL for whatever database you happen to be using.
Next up, they tested her on Django's MVT architecture: model, view,
template, and she successfully mapped out the entire flow of a user request. So the model handles the application data. The view consists of the Python functions that actually receive the user's request and figure out the right response. And finally, the template is the HTML file that's generated by the view to be sent back to the client. If you want to be a Django developer, understanding this flow is completely non-negotiable.
The interviewer also probed her front-end knowledge a bit, specifically asking her to compare JavaScript and TypeScript. JavaScript extends HTML to make it dynamic, right? But it's a dynamically typed language, which is actually just like Python. You don't have to declare variable types beforehand. TypeScript, on the other hand, is a superset of JavaScript that requires static typing, meaning you must specify your data types. Pointing out that Python and JavaScript share dynamic typing is such a pro move to show you really understand programming paradigms across entirely different languages.
All right, now we enter section 4, the art of delivery. Pay really close attention here, guys, because these are the soft skills and the communication tactics that will literally get you hired over someone who has the exact same technical skills as you.
At one point, the interviewer told the candidate, connect the dots and make the line. So what does that actually mean? Basically, textbook, one-word answers just aren't enough. You have to prove that your knowledge isn't just theoretical fluff.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the candidate executed it perfectly. The interviewer asked a super basic question about the HTML disabled attribute, but instead of just spitting out a dictionary definition, she connected it directly to a real-world project. She explained that in an online test portal she built, she used the disabled attribute to literally turn off the next button when a user reached the final question. Grounding a dry technical concept in a relatable personal project, that proves absolute competence.
Throughout the whole interview, the senior developer kept coming back to this one specific piece of feedback. Give answers slowly, calm. Look, when we get nervous, we speed up, right? We speak in one huge breath, and suddenly our answer turns into this monotone dump of technical jargon. Even if what you're saying is 100% correct, rushing makes it incredibly hard for the interviewer to digest. You've got to stop, pause, use some voice modulation, and explain the concepts calmly.
Here is another massive takeaway. Never get stuck on a single memorized example. When asked to explain object-oriented inheritance, she gave the classic biology example, a child inheriting genetic traits like height and eye color. But the interviewer immediately challenged her. He said, "I don't want this example, give me another one." And she just smoothly pivoted to a physical assets example, talking about a father passing down a farm and a bike to his child. Showing that kind of mental adaptability proves you actually get the concept, rather than just repeating a slide from a college lecture. Then, towards the end of this whole technical gauntlet, the interviewer threw a major curveball. He asked if she knew where the Mahakumbh festival was happening this year or who recently won the chess championship. I mean, why on earth would a Python interviewer ask about a cultural festival or a random chess match?
Well, it's because interviewers want well-rounded teammates, not just code monkeys. They want people who are curious, who keep their eyes open to the outside world, and who can actually hold a normal conversation in the break room. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. Your IDE and your syntax are incredibly important, absolutely, but are you refining your communication and your worldly curiosity just as rigorously as your code?